Hello guys, my name is Prince and this is Math Center. Subscribe to my YouTube channel for more videos. Post your comments and questions on my social media handles and I'll respond to it. This is the final video on relations, mapping and functions. We've considered relations and mapping. In the previous video, we looked at functions. We saw how to find the image and element of a function when the rule or formula of the function has been given to you. In this video, we are going to learn how to find the values that make a function undefined. Now, what do we mean by undefined? Any expression of the form g of x over f of x over g of x is undefined if g of x is equal to 0. So what we mean is that if you have a function of this form, a function that is in the form of a fraction, a function over a function, then we are saying that the whole function is undefined if the denominator is equal to 0. Now this is what I mean. Please take your calculator and switch it on. Now type 1 over 0, then press equal to. What do you get? Math error. That is the undefined we are talking about. Whenever you type anything over 0, let's say type something like random, type 8 over 0, you are going to get undefined. So whenever you type anything over 0, your function is going to be undefined. So what it means is that if you have a function that is in the form of a fraction, like what we have here, a function over another function, and the denominator is 0, then your function is undefined. That is why your calculator gives you math error. So if you want to find the values that make a function undefined, equate the denominator of the function to 0 and solve for the variable there. It's as simple as that. Let's pick some examples and see. So you have been given about 3 questions here. You pick them one after the other and solve. So the first one says that find the value of x for which f of s given as 4 over x plus 3 is undefined. So as we said, whenever you have this f is to x, you change the f is to s into f into bracket x, then you change the arrow sign into the equal to sign, so you have 4 over x. So we have f of x is equal to 4 over x plus 3. Now to find the value that makes this function undefined, we say that equate the denominator. Remember that don't pay attention to the numerator. Don't worry yourself with anything on the numerator. Equate the denominator to 0. Because if you're able to get the denominator to be 0, then the whole function, no matter what is on the numerator, will be undefined. So to make this function undefined, if s plus 3 is equal to 0, then f of x will be undefined. So if the denominator is equal to 0, then the whole function will be undefined. So equate the denominator to 0 and solve for x. So s plus 3 is equal to 0. To find x, we know that we bring 3 to this side, so we are going to have x is equal to negative 3. So what this means is that the value of x for which f of s is undefined is negative 3. So if x is equal to negative 3 in this function, then the whole function will be undefined. Now let's look at this. If we replace x with negative 3, we are going to have negative 3 plus 3, that will be 0. So we are going to have 4 over 0, and that will make the whole function undefined. So s can be any other number, but immediately s becomes negative 3, this whole function here becomes undefined. Let's look at the next example. Find the value of x for which if h of x is equal to s squared minus 5x all over s squared minus 4x plus 3 is undefined. Once again, to make a function undefined, the denominator must be equated to 0. Don't worry yourself with what is on the numerator. Immediately the denominator becomes 0. Anything on the numerator doesn't matter. The whole function will be 0. So to find the value of x that will make this function h of x undefined, we equate what is on the numerator to 0. So we are saying that if s squared minus 4s plus 3 is equal to 0, then h of x will be undefined. So don't worry yourself with what is here. Equate the denominator to 0. Sometimes, to find value of x that will make a certain function undefined, the question will tell you to find the zeros of the function. It's the same thing. When the question tells you to find the zero of the function, the same as find the number or the value that will make the function undefined. So here we are being told to find values of x that will make this function here undefined. So we equate the denominator to 0. So we solve s squared minus 4s plus 3 is equal to 0. This is a quadratic equation. If you watch the video on solving quadratic trinomials under algebraic expression, you will get how to solve this quadratic trinomial into details. We've solved more examples in that, so I'm going to go ahead and solve this quadratic trinomial. So you multiply the coefficient of s squared here, which is 1, by this one here, which is 3. So you are going to get 3. Then we look for two numbers that when you multiply, you get positive 3. When you add, we are going to get negative 4. And that will going to give us negative 1 and negative 3. So we replace negative 4 with those two numbers. So this is going to give us s squared minus x minus 3s plus 3 is equal to 0. Once again, we've solved more examples on solving quadratic trinomials under algebraic expressions. So please go and watch that video and you understand how these two numbers came about. Let's simplify. Let's factorize. So we factorize x out. We are going to get x into bracket x minus 1, then minus 3 into bracket x minus 1 is equal to 0. As I said, we have a negative sign here. So whenever you have a negative sign here and you factorize something out, the sign here, if it's positive, it changes to negative as we have here. So we are going to have, we have x minus 1 here, we have x minus 1 here. So we pick one of them, then you pick x minus 3 is equal to 0. Once again, if you watch the video on solving quadratic trinomials and algebraic expressions, you are going to get this very, very well. So as is the case, we equate what is in the first bracket to 0 and we solve. So we have x minus 3 is equal to 0, so x will be equal to 3. We have x minus 1 is equal to 0, so x is equal to 1. So which means that the value of x that will make h of x undefined are 3 and 1. So if you put x is equal to 3, the h of x will be undefined. If you put 1, x is equal to 1, h of x will be undefined. You can try that and you see that whenever you put x is equal to 3 or x is equal to 1, the denominator of the function, which is h of x, will be 0. Let's look at the next example. F of x is defined by, a function is defined by f of x giving us 3x minus 1 over x minus 3 on the domain negative 1, negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2. I find a range. What element of the domain corresponds to the following images? A, 7 over 5 and B, 1. Then what value of x makes the function undefined? So we are supposed to find the range here again. We did an example in the previous video and we are going to do this one too. So the first thing you have to do is to write the function like this. So f of x is equal to 3x minus 1 over x minus 3. So we are supposed to find the range. So in finding the range, we are going to find the corresponding images of these elements in the domain. So we find the corresponding image. So the first element is negative 2. So we find the image of negative 2. We have f of negative 2 to be equal to 3 into brackets minus 2 minus 1 all over minus 2 minus 3. This will give us minus 6 minus 1 divided by minus 5. Then we have 7 over 5. We find the image of the next element, which is minus 1, and that is going to give us 3 into brackets minus 1 minus 1 all over minus 1 minus 3 is equal to minus 3 minus 1 over minus 4. Minus 3 minus 1 will give us minus 4. So minus 4 over minus 4 will give us 1. You find the image of the next element, which is 0. 3 into bracket 0 minus 1 over 0 minus 3, and this is going to give us 0 minus 1 over minus 5, giving us 1 over 5. Then we find the image of the next element, which is 1. So that is going to give us 3 into bracket 1 minus 1 all over 1 minus 3. We are going to have 3 minus 1 over minus 2, and that will give us minus 1. Then you find the image of the next one, which is 2. So we are going to have 3 into bracket 2 minus 1 all over 2 minus 3 into bracket 6 minus 1 over minus 1, and that will give us minus 5. So to find the range, all you need to do is that you find the images of the elements in the domain. Then when you put all those images together, you have the range. So from here we have seen that f of negative 2 will give us 7 over 5, f of negative 1 will give us 1, f of 0 will give us 1 over 5, f of 1 will give us negative 1, f of 2 will give us negative 5. So we can see that the image of negative 2 is 7 over 5, the image of negative 1 is 0, is 1, the image of 0 is 1 over 5, the image of 1 is negative 1, and the image of 2 is negative 5. So you can see that the range is 7 over 5, 1, 1 over 5, negative 1, and negative 5. So these are the corresponding images of the elements that we have in the domain. They make up what is called the range. Let's look at the next question. What element of the domain corresponds to the following images? So what this question is telling us that there are these elements in the domain. There are these elements in the domain here, 7 over 5, and what elements of the domain correspond to the following images? There are these elements in the images, the codomain or the range, that have corresponding images, that have corresponding elements in the domain. So we should find those elements. So all the question is telling us that when you come here into the range, we have 7 over 5 and 1. What in the domain is giving us 1? That is all that it means. What element in the domain is giving us 1 in the codomain or the range? And we know that negative 2 is mapping onto 1. So negative 2 is mapping onto 7 over 5. Negative 1 is mapping onto 1. So in the first instance, the element giving us 7 over 5 in the range is negative 2. From the range, the element of the domain corresponding to 7 over 5 is negative 2, because we know that the image of negative 2 is 7 over 5. And in the same way, the element giving us 1, the element in the domain that is giving us 1 is negative 1, because from the calculation that we did, we saw that the image of negative 1 is 1 in the domain or the range. I hope that is clear. In the same way, the image of 0 is 1 over 5. The image of 1 is negative 1, and the image of 2 is negative 5. Let's look at the next one. What value of x makes the function undefined? We've seen that to make a function undefined, you need to equate the denominator to 0. So we know that if x minus 3 is equal to 0, then the function will be undefined. So equate x minus 3 to be equal to 0. Equate x minus 3 to 0 and find x. X minus 3 is equal to 0, so x will give us 3. So what this means is that if x is 3, then the whole function will be undefined. Now look at something. When you put 3 here, you are going to have 3x minus 1 over 3 minus 3. 3 minus 3 will give us 0. So this whole function here will be undefined. Thank you for watching this video and all the videos under relation, mapping, and functions. These are just a few examples. Pick more examples and try your hands on them. The ones that you are not able to solve, interact with me on my social media handles and I'll help you to solve it. When solving, take your time and use the same principles that we've used in this video. Now you can see that in this video we solved some simultaneous equations, and some quadratic trinomials. If you are not so clear how to solve them, watch the video under algebraic expressions solving quadratic trinomials and algebraic expressions and be able to solve those quadratic trinomials. Also, a whole video is made for solving simultaneous equations. So if you watch that video too, you know how to solve simultaneous equation. See you in the next videos where we will tackle a different topic. Bye bye.